Oh yeah, listen, this is something that I've been talking about for over a decade. When I started talking about the pyramid, the Giza pyramids, the Great Pyramid, the Khafre Pyramid, just the plateau itself, and even the pyramids at Saqqara. And I have been talking about these underground shafts and underground areas that are wide open that hold this area called the Halls of Amenti, according to the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which some people recently that attacked tried to say, oh, this just a guy sat down in 1923 and made up a sci-fi movie in his head. Not quite. You can't make this kind of stuff up. And for the fact that in my book that I wrote 5 years ago, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which has been a bestseller on Amazon for over 5 years now, maybe five and a half years total time, on page 34, not only do I talk about this underground vast opening and what it may hold, I have a rendering of what it would look like based on the account of Thoth in the Emerald Tablets. And guess what? The columns are there. They go deep beneath the earth. And this area is so vast and so wide that if you took it and dug it out and put the Burj Khalifa next to it, the tallest building in the world in Dubai, it's the same height. It's actually slightly taller than the Burj Khalifa if you go all the way to the tip of the pyramid. So if you go from the tip of the pyramid down to the deepest part of this underground built, I don't know what it is if you want to call it, this technology, this underground shaft, or these columns that go deep 2,000 kilometers, this thing is just a little taller than the Burj Khalifa. We're talking about something that's mesmerizing here. And people have tried to come out and debunk it immediately without even looking at the research data. So let's debunk the debunkers right from the beginning. A lot of critics came out. You already know what they're going to do. They're going to come out and talk about that the SAR scans can't penetrate that deep into the earth. Well, they're thinking about an old version of the SAR scan, right? They're thinking about that version. They're saying that you can't penetrate that deep. Zahi Hawass, the overseer and the keeper of the knowledge, the blocker or the opposition of knowledge coming out of Egypt for many, many decades, immediately makes a statement without looking at any of the data that, oh, this can't be real. And then another scientist also came out and tried to say that as well, who is totally on the other side of the world, never looked at the data as well. But they're all part of the same inner circle. They're trying to keep this kind of knowledge hidden. So I wanted to get that out of the way in the beginning. And why are we going to debunk it? Okay. Unlike ground penetrating radar, this scientist named Biondi, his SAR technology employs X-band microwaves at 10 gigahertz with a 3 centimeter wavelength. This is coming from a satellite, okay? This is coming from a satellite in space. It penetrates the ground less than 30 centimeters, but instead of directly scanning the underground like the other version of SAR, it detects subtle surface vibrations that create minute shivers triggered by the resonance of this band. So it can actually penetrate even deeper because it's picking up the vibrations. The vibrations rise back up towards the beam, send that information back to the CPU or the processor on the satellite, and then it's able to extrapolate the empty space from the solid space and to create a rendering of what's under the ground. And by this revolutionary method, they were able to find that these vibrations are similar to seismic waves and they generate a Doppler effect. And this is why this SAR technology is revolutionary, and everyone is going to start using it on all these ancient sites very, very soon, because this version or this method of utilizing SAR technology allows you to see deep, deep, deep beneath many layers of solid stone, and you can get a rendering. Now you don't have to dig holes, meters wide out to the south, east, north, or west, and then try to go down and dig a tunnel. You can, and then hope you can find what's there, so you don't destroy the structure. You can simply use a satellite with this specific 10 gigahertz, 3 centimeter wide band technology, and you can create this amazing imagery, which we've seen going viral on the internet. I wrote books about it, right? This book's 5.5 years old almost, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I mean, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. This is one of those, another confirmation moment for forbidden knowledge. I've had so many confirmation moments over the years. One of the very first talking about chemtrails, one of the very first talking about geoengineering contracts and what the effect of them is, and that countries and states will start banning them, which has happened. One of the very first to talk about all these other things that have gone on, and they just keep coming up to be true. And this is just another one that happens to be true. And the evidence is that even in the book, I depict a rendering of these underground columns going deep beneath the earth, underneath Giza, coming from underneath the pyramids, and creating this vast underground area that seems to potentially even go on for miles in different directions.
Who are these scientists coming out with these bold claims?
Yeah, well, the name of the scientists are a research team, so it's a team, not just one. It's Corrado Malanga, Corrado Malanga, Malanga, Armando May, that's Armando Mei, and then Filippo Biondi, okay, which, Biondi is his last name if you look that up, and Nicole Ciccolo, Ciccolo, and they are basically the ones that came up with this research technology. Now, this group, I forget what country, I think they're out of Italy or France, but they have access to this satellite, which they rigged this technology on. And that's why they didn't have to get any permission from Egypt to do this, because they were doing it from space and nobody can stop that. So it's crazy. And they were able to scan even see the Balanzi chamber in the Khafre pyramid. So this technology is incredible. These scientists are real scientists and researchers and archaeologists that anyone can Google those names and pull up all the science data and the peer-reviewed information on their findings and previous findings in the past. This isn't the first time they've had discoveries.
Why is this coming out at this specific time in 2025? Why is this claim coming out that there's an underground city? Is there significance? Have they been holding this back, or are they just gathering all the research just to unleash it on the whole public?
Mm-hmm. Well, great question. A lot of the people on the inside circle, like Zahi Hawass and a few others, have been holding this information back from the general public for a very, very long time. They have known that these areas underneath exist, and they haven't done proper scans to create the renderings that we have now. But they know that there's tunnels that lead from the Sphinx all the way out to the Ziggurat of Ur in Iraq, as well as corresponding tunnels that lead from Giza Plateau all the way out to Iraq and into Mesopotamia as well, deep underground. They know all about this stuff. I've been in the underground. They're dried out. I guess what the geological name for them would be. This is where the Nile used to run, and the Nile now is dried out from that area and as it meandered off, and so it leaves these dry openings underneath the pyramids. And I've been in those as well. I forget the technical geological name for those, but there's so much going on underneath. And I've descended 65 meters beneath the Great Pyramid in something called the subterranean shaft. And only less than 0.1% of the world has ever even known about it. And less than 1% of them have ever been inside of it. And I'm one of the people to be inside of that amazing shaft. So there's so much going on. They know about this stuff, but they keep it hidden from us, or have kept it hidden from us, because it breaks down mainstream narratives, and somebody's paying these people to do this. Now, why is it coming out now? This is the really big question. Well, it has been foretold that this is the era and this is the time, this age of Aquarius, which just began in 2025. We are now in the age of Aquarius, the age of enlightenment. The age of esoteric wisdom has come forward. So people like yourself, Ralph, and myself, we have been way ahead of the game in the curve, leading humanity back into this new age where we're going to become awakened, because we're in the age of information, but information like no other. Not just information that's toxic, but information that's enlightening, information that will wake up humanity, information that will take us back in time to rediscover who we truly are, and to begin to rip away this amnesia that humanity has. So once we discover who we are, what we did, where we came from, and the truth about the ancient past, we can then merge together, organize, and build a much better future for humanity on this planet. And that's where we're going. Like I've been telling you guys for decades now, throw out the slave theory. Pyramids were not built by slaves. Just toss that into absolute trash. No slaves built the pyramids. And when we talk about this technological engineering feat today, I'm pretty sure by the end of this talk, you'll agree with me. The stuff that we're talking about today are talked about in the Emerald tablets that they keep trying to tell you the Emerald Tablets don't know what they're talking about. Somebody just made up a sci-fi story. Okay. They keep making up things in the Emerald Tablets that just seem to keep appearing on Earth in real time. Like they talked about the chamber that was discovered above the Grand Gallery leading up to the King's Chamber. They discovered that about maybe 4 years ago with a muon scan, right? But it's talked about in the Emerald Tablets. Huh? They tell you exactly where it's located. Now we've discovered everything, not everything, but this huge structure underneath the Great Pyramid, underneath this Giza structure where they have this pyramid plateau. There are all these rooms and cylinders, which we'll show and talk about today. Who talked about those already? Yeah, the Emerald Tablets. Read my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. It's been a bestseller for 5 years. My newest book, which is The Mysteries of the Forbidden Emerald Tablets of Thoth, just came out a few weeks ago, and it goes deeper into the 2 tablets that were released much later. However, the information in these books, and the tablets, I should say, that I wrote about in the books, is astounding because, once again, the stuff that people keep saying doesn't exist, we discovered that it actually exists. The debunkers keep getting debunked when it comes to my information. Even the fake debate people, they've been debunked already by like several dozen real scholars. So the debunkers keep getting debunked. And when you look into these ancient texts, papyruses, cylinder scrolls, and everything else going on, you find that you're getting as close to the truth as humanly possible. It's amazing that Thoth talks about the halls of Amenti and describes them in great detail. And then all of a sudden, we discover this underneath the pyramids. And this information is now making international news. It's like ripping the airways. It's on everything, everywhere you look. This information's out there. And it absolutely destroys the pyramid mainstream, building theory. It destroys it. It destroys the mud ramp theory. It destroys the floating block theory. It just rips and shreds they use chicken bones and copper chisels, and slaves built the pyramids. If you're a religious person, it destroys all of those concepts, throws it out the window. That's right, John Burton. The debunkers keep getting debunked. I love it, man. I love it. Even in my weakest state, dying from pneumonia, I was still right. I'm just coming out of the hospital, bandage on my arm, and I'm still getting the knowledge out. This structure was found deep, deep, deep beneath the pyramids, okay, located at Giza. Where is Giza? Giza is a plateau located in Egypt. Now, where's Egypt? That is a country located in Africa, okay? So let's get that clear first of all, where the exact location. We're talking about the Giza Plateau, located in the country of Egypt, which is located on the continent of Africa, all right? Let's go ahead and debunk the debunkers right away. Let's debunk the debunkers immediately. Because what's happened is critics on social media, they're questioning how synthetic aperture radar can actually create the ability for us to see beneath these pyramids, okay? So what they're saying, I'm gonna read the exact articles. Criticals on social media question synthetic aperture radar, which is SAR, scan of the Great Pyramids. Using satellite radar beams can detect voids 2 kilometers underground or hidden chambers, assuming radar cannot penetrate deeply. However, this skepticism misrepresents Filippo Biondi's method. Filippo Biondi is a gentleman that made this discovery with his team. Unlike ground-penetrating radar, Biondi's SAR technique employs X-band microwaves at 10 gigahertz with a 3-centimeter wavelength. And that penetrates the ground less than 30 centimeters. Instead of directly scanning underground, it detects subtle surface vibrations, minute shivers. We're talking about Egypt, there, Giza is always vibrating. It's like very light vibrations based on the tectonic plates. There's this vibration coming out of there with the electromagnetic field and everything else. It creates this unstable vibration, and that vibration triggered the resonance of voids deep below or even behind walls. And the vibrations are similar to seismic waves, and they generate a Doppler effect that SAR captures with high precision. Measuring variations in distance, direction, and frequency, they analyze these patterns across pixel lines, which are called tonograms, and Biondi maps the void's locations, tracing their mechanical surface effects back to their underground origins. So again, we're talking about a different type of a SAR, a newly upgraded version of SAR, which is utilizing the, which is actually not utilizing, but harnessing, I should say, harnessing the vibrations there at Giza, all right, harnessing them, measuring them, and then creating this amazing scan of what's down there. So like I said before, we've already debunked the debunkers in the beginning of the video, all right? So throw away your debunking because it's trash. If you're saying, oh, you can't scan that deep into solid stone, well, yes, you can. These people are experts and Biondi did it, all right? It's a done deal. So wipe it from your mind. Don't waste your energy trying to debunk it. A research team comprising Corrado Malanga, Armando May, and Filippo Biondi, and Nicole Sicolo has unveiled new findings from a synthetic aperture radar scan of the Giza Plateau, focusing on the underground structures beneath the Khafre Pyramid. This initiative is part of an ongoing Khafre research project, which utilizes advanced satellite technology to explore the site's concealed architecture. Key discoveries in this: subsurface structures, that means beneath the pyramid, beneath the actual bedrock. The SAR scan revealed 5 small room-like structures within the Khafre Pyramid, centrally located above the chamber known as the Bolonzi Chamber, which contains a sarcophagus previously misidentified as the pharaoh's tomb. In other words, it's not a tomb for a pharaoh. It's a structure that looks like a sarcophagus, but isn't a sarcophagus. It's something else. And I'm going to tell you what it is tonight. It's one of the halls of Amenti's rejuvenation chambers, and I'm going to show you some tonight. Vertical shafts were also discovered there. The team identified 8 large vertical structures, possibly wells or shafts, extending over 6,500 feet across and reaching depths of approximately 2,000 feet beneath the pyramid. 2,000 feet. These shafts, first of all, let's talk about the size of these shafts. Can you imagine something being 6,500 feet across? Not 3 feet, not 4 feet, not 5 feet, not the size of my desk, which is about 6 feet, all right? No, 6,500 feet across. And they're laid out in 2 rows, 2,000 feet beneath the pyramid. And they found a vast underground complex. The findings suggest, they say, that the presence of a substantial subterranean network beneath the Giza Plateau, potentially corresponding to the legendary halls of Amenti described in the ancient Egyptian mythology. Oh, they referenced the halls of Amenti from the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. Okay? This is incredible. I love it. And in the book, which I wrote 5 years ago, it's actually been more than 5 years now, probably 5.5 years, I actually talk about this discovery on page 34. All right, let me go back to the live chat. On page 34, I actually give you an image. Oh, here you go. I give you an image of what lie beneath the Great Pyramid, according to Thoth from ancient Egypt, when he ruled over the land of ancient Kemet before it was called Egypt. And I write in here, the lost labyrinth of Egypt is without a doubt one of the most incredible ancient sites that are a lost jewel to history. And the image credit is in here as well. And I go in to talk about the 4th century Greek historian Herodotus records one of history's first tour guides to the ancient and to the Greeks The mysterious Egypt, he says, I visited. This I have actually seen, a work beyond works. For if anyone put together the buildings of the Greeks and the display of their labors, they would seem lesser in both effort and expertise in this labyrinth. Even the pyramids are beyond words, and each was with equal, many and mighty, the works of the Greeks, many and mightier than the works of the Greeks. Yet the labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids. He's saying, Herodotus is saying, what's underneath there surpasses the work of building the pyramid itself. And anything the Greeks have ever done, this outdoes that as well. Okay? And it goes into talk about, well, I go back to the tablets again, because I mix back and forth between accounts and the tablets. And Thoth says, I, Thoth, the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king magician, living from generation to generation, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti. These records of the mighty wisdom of the great Atlantis, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after. In the great city of Kior, on the island of Undal, in a time far past, I began this incarnation. He says, not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from eon to eon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally onward. We're going to talk about that river of life, and we're going to talk about the halls of Amenti in these rejuvenation chambers tonight. Okay? We're going to show you this stuff. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about these halls of Amenti today and the river of life that they utilize and the sarcophagi that they put their bodies in to rejuvenate them. And Thoth says they're located underneath the Great Pyramid. Okay? Then he says, when he rejuvenates his body, he comes back, he says, but in a time yet unborn will I rise again, mighty and potent, requiring an accounting of those left behind me. Okay? And then he goes on to talk about his secrets and everything else, the secrets of how he rejuvenates his body and so forth and so on. So the team deployed synthetic aperture radar, or SAR technology, using X-band microwaves at 10 gigahertz to detect subtle surface vibration caused by deep underground voids. And this non-invasive technique allowed the research to interfere or infer the presence of hidden structures without physical excavation. This is the New York Post. So they didn't have to go out and dig and get backhoes and dig and create their own tunnels to go down and investigate. They did this all from scans, from the SAR scan technology, non-invasive and upgraded by this team to be able to scan through this solid stone and the bedrock and discover what's there. Okay? Now, a radar expert at the University of Denver questioned the technology's capability. This person questioned, Professor Lawrence Conyers questioned this instantaneously without even having any information or evidence or any idea or concept of how it worked or where it went or how they did it, without digging any deeper into the knowledge or any of the information. But he partnered up with Zahi Hawass, who's the biggest fraud of Egypt, in my personal opinion, who's been obfuscating true information and evidence about Egypt for decades and stealing other people's discoveries and putting his name on it and getting paid from all different sources. Those two together have tried to say, oh, it's impossible to make a scam like this. But actually, as you know, in the very beginning of this video, we debunked these debunkers already. So let's have a look at some of these structures and you can see what I'm talking about, all right? So here you're starting to look at some of what the scan picked up. You see these cylindrical megalithic columns that are 6,500 feet across. And above them, there appear to be bedrock and then some of these other antechambers, okay, that are right above. You have these circles and numbers pointing to these antechambers and these other areas, right? Here's another view. Now, I want you to ask yourself a solid question. These boxes that are underneath these megalithic 2,000 foot long cylindrical 6,500 foot wide structures, these megalithic boxes down there which perform some type of amazing function, are so large, and I have to read the exact numbers for you. They're so large that 64,000 people can fit inside of them. Okay? 12,800 square meters is 137,778 square feet. Depending on the density of the occupancy or how you stack the people in there, if you put them stacked on top of each other and side by side all the way across, or if you just have standing room only, tightly packed seating, 2 to 3 people per square meter would be 32,000 people. Office conference space type seating would be, only 1,280 people. But if you actually set it up where you just fill the entire volume with people, you'd fit 64,000 people in there. 64,000 people can fit within just those two. We're talking about a massive, massive space here. We're not talking about something, that is like, it's pretty nice and cool, but that's not that big of a deal. No, we're talking about a really, really big deal. It's a 2-kilometer underground city found beneath the Great Pyramids, okay? A 2-kilometer underground city is just bananas. And it seems to look like something technological. We're talking about something that literally is so sophisticated that you have to have foreknowledge before you build it, okay? You have to have foreknowledge. You're not going to build anything like this without foreknowledge. Here we have another image here, so you can see the overlay of the pyramid structure, and you can begin to see the subterranean chamber going down. And you can also see the tomographic measurements and the scan, how it sends back to the computer the information and the data, so they can come up with this elaborate underground structure so that this is a real discovery. This is crazy because, again, this is the actual real scan of some of the area. And so you can see now that these scans are not only real, but we have the imagery. Look at these cylinders, and you see that they have this coil going around them, okay? This coil that's going around them may not just be lining or cabling. If you understand the size of each of these columns are 6,500, it's just, 6,500 feet wide, going down 2,000 feet. Those coils potentially could be something like a staircase, potentially. I doubt because if you scale that image up right there to a full-size actual image of the full scale, those coils would be megalithic. The coils themselves will make a human look like an ant. And if that's the case, they may not be cabling, they may be something else. My only hypothesis that I could think of is maybe there's some type of a walkway, maybe there's some type of a staircase, or maybe they are cabling that carries energy in some way. Maybe they're hollow on the inside until we can actually, if we're ever able to really get a sample of this stuff and take a look at it and see what it is. Another hypothesis could be that it channels energy around these columns, and maybe it's got mica line inside of it to hold the electrical charge. We know that the halls of Amenti are energetic, according to the text, and that energy that's used, like a battery system, is used to power these rejuvenation chambers, which are gigantic diorite and granite stone boxes that are megalithic. Some weigh as much as 1,500 tons, some weigh as much as a few hundred tons, depending on which one we're looking at, which I'll show you some tonight. Either way, when looking at this structure, what I see is advanced technology. I do not see a pyramid that's stacked by blocks like a Lego set just to have a nice looking building on the outside. I see foreknowledge, I see planning. To do something this huge and to get these columns that far beneath the bedrock, today, if you said to an engineer, can you do this? They're going to charge you, first of all, maybe damn near close to $1 billion, number one. Number two, they're going to tell you that they need to create technology to do this, or they're going to need to tell you how much excavation is going to be needed to make this happen. It could be done. We build high rises that have these huge steel beams going down deep into the bedrock, and especially here in Florida where I live on the ocean. This can be done, but it's not going to be easy. And they're going to have to use advanced technology to make it happen. Can you imagine a whole bunch of slaves with chicken bones and copper chisels and trying to use elephants to maneuver these giant megalithic columns into position? It's laughable. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. This is advanced engineering far beyond anything that anyone has ever seen anywhere on this planet for an ancient civilization. We haven't had this much verifiable evidence since I've been studying this stuff for the last 27 years. Okay? Just haven't had this much verifiable evidence. I guarantee you there's no chicken bones down there in the dirt. When they dig these up, when they finally get to looking into these, they'll find no chicken bones and no copper chisels around anywhere. They just won't be there. This is advanced technology, using advanced technology, advanced tooling, advanced foreknowledge, advanced mathematics, calculus, geometry. You need to understand levels. You have to understand the rock strata that you're working with to prevent collapse. You have to understand true north. You have to understand all of this stuff. It's mind-boggling, the stuff you have to understand. This is more evidence that the Great Pyramid is a multifunctional stone computer, as I've always said for many decades. That whole structure at Giza, with the three pyramids together, that's aligned with Orion, has a multifunction. It's not just one thing here or one thing there. They do many things. They were able to turn stone into machines. And what better way to have a machine when you're dealing with, if you're a species that has a capability of interstellar travel or interplanetary travel even, and you go to a planet to create a breakaway civilization, you're not going to be able to build warehouses and factories and hire people to work in them and create an industry, and then you can go away and they're going to be in there working and building things all the time for you. No. You utilize the resources of the planet to create things like this machine that when you go away and come back 1,000 years later, it's still going to be there and you can still make it work. And you don't have to have people running it. You don't have to have hundreds of people inside of a factory. How many people does Tesla employ? How many people does the SpaceX employ? Thousands of people. You can't do that thousands of years ago. These people found ways to make functioning machines run on a megalithic scale with hardly anybody having to interact with them on a day-by-day basis. Man, that's some super knowledge. No wonder why the people thought they were gods. No wonder why. This is magic to them. To me, it's just advanced technology. Okay? Advanced technology. It's mind-boggling. Here's another angle. If you look at this as from an engineer's mind, from an engineering mind, right? You look at these, you look at this and you see instantly, you see a machine. If I showed this image to you before I told you that this was underneath the pyramid, and I said, what do you think this is? You'd probably say you thought this was part of a machine. Okay? Thoth says, where did the idea of spiral-like columns come from? I read the original published paper from 2022. It mentioned columns, but no spirals. The spirals are coming from the actual scan images and the press release that came out recently, okay? Thanks for asking. Thanks for the donation. So yeah, so you look at this and you say, this is technology. You instantly believe like, okay, I don't know where this came from or where he's showing me here, but this looks like part of a machine. And then when I tell you the scale, 2,000 feet long, 6,500 feet across, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that's crazy. Hubris says, what do you think about being some sort of hydroelectric technology? It's exactly what I think it is. I was just heading into that, Hubris 423, that if you understand that the Great Pyramid was built on top of an aquifer, okay, built on top of an aquifer, and that the Nile used to run right up to the pyramids back in the day. Of course, it's dried out now and meandered away many miles. But back then, it was a very tropical area, and the Sphinx, the Nile ran right up along the Sphinx and the Great Pyramids. And underneath the Great Pyramid, I've actually been down there, where there are dried water tubes, where the aquifer, you can see it, you can stand in it, where the water used to flow. They're just dried out tubes right now. And if you have moving water through a structure like this that might be able to harness that energy, we know that moving water under crystal granite, which is the base, creates something called physiostatic electricity. Could this technology we're looking at now have harnessed that power and then in some way stepped up or amped up that energy and moved it around the complex underground for purposes unknown? One of which may be functioning, powering the halls of Amenti, powering some of these sarcophagi, these rejuvenation chambers. And also, as Thoth talks about in the Animal Tablets, he talks about that there's portal technology underneath the pyramid, and he uses that to go places. Could this be something that also helps to create they harness the energy and then create a stable wormhole for wormhole travel, for portal travel? That's what I say, multifunctional. There's so many things it possibly could have done. They were able to maximize this, not use it for one thing, but for many things. Okay, for many, many things. Also, could there be another hall of records down there in one of these chambers that Thoth talks about as well, being hidden within the Great Pyramid structure? So there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this. This is like mind-blowing stuff, okay? It's one of the greatest discoveries going right now that unequivocally, in my opinion, proves that people with advanced technology, not stone tools and copper chisels and chicken bones, but people with really serious advanced tech and serious advanced engineering skills could put this thousands of feet and build beneath the pyramid and build a 2-kilometer city. I believe that the people that built this, a couple things happened to them. The first thing that I believe happened to them is that a lot of them left. I believe also left after the Second Pyramid War, which evidence of that is the sand having glass in it. I think it was a war. The Pyramid of Dozier also looks like it was fired upon and exploded. A lot of the debris has spread out over the sand. You could pick up charred pieces of brick. I think that there was a war. A lot of them left. But the other part is some of them made it with people. And I think that a lot of their bloodline are still walking the planet till this day, because these people are humanoids. They're not green men with antenna. They're real people, okay? It's such a mesmerizing thing. They're now surfing in their brainwaves trying to figure out, how do we make this smaller than what it is? Well, it's too late, Zahi Hawass. The cat's already out of the bag, and you won't be able to cover this one up. We're sorry. You won't be able to hide this one from the general public. Look for something else to hide and obfuscate, but you won't be able to do this one, all right? Again, I talked about this 5.5 years ago in this book. I've been talking about it for over a decade, but I wrote about it 5.5 years ago in the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. There's a rendering of it in this book before they come out with this official release and these official scans, okay? They, just like our modern engineers, archaeologists, and construction workers and land developers today in the 21st century, they back then had foreknowledge. They had built this and already knew it was going to work in the past somewhere else. They duplicated what they have already had done and perfected somewhere and reproduced it here, or there, I should say. I'm always in Egypt a lot, so I say here because I'm used to being in Egypt. They reproduced it there on the Giza plateau. You don't accidentally dig holes in the ground beneath solid bedrock and excavate millions, hundreds of millions, maybe of tons of soil and sand, and do it in a way that prevents collapse, do it in a way that harnesses the Nile River, do it in a way that when you build it up, it comes back to a solid foundation, and then stack millions of stones on top of that in a way that creates a structure that has hidden chambers and paths and shafts and everything else that all have a specific function. You can't do that by guesswork. You cannot do that by happenstance. Because if you pull the resources of your civilization and it fails, you just wasted an entire civilization's resources and probably could have put that civilization under to the point where it would have to move or even be taken over by someone else. What they did here is so astounding and so mind-blowing, it's almost unfathomable. It, to me, proves advanced foreknowledge of the process. This technology, this build that they created, this structure that they built, this wasn't the first time that they did this. The perfection is outstanding. The precision is outstanding and mind-blowing. This was not done by primitive people. This was not done by people that didn't have tools, because we actually show you the tool marks. And we don't show you any old standard tool marks made by grinding stones together, because I can make a tool out of a rock. Chimpanzees in the wild, they make tools all the time. Birds make tools. They'll use stones as tools, even birds. No, we're going to show you tools that leave tool marks like advanced drilling, but not any type of advanced drilling. Drilling that is so sophisticated that we don't have a drill bit that can match what those drills were doing. We don't have saws today. And we take engineers with us to these tours. We had one of the world's top engineers on our last tour in October. The guy, every day he saw us and every day we went out, his brain exploded every single day. One of the top in the world, this guy. He's one of the only people in the whole planet that can use a specific type of a crane to build megalithic, or we call megalithic today, these high rises and so forth. He was doing calculus nonstop on the whole trip, and he couldn't figure out a way with what he knows and the tools he has access to replicate some of the things that we took him to see. These people were advanced. Now, also, in Egypt, at some of the temples that are now, we call them temples, but they're not really temples. They're like storehouses of information around the Giza plateau. The structures are all worn down, but they found a lot of the records inside these structures and accounts. The records talk about the people that worked on the pyramids. Now, as far as I know, slaves are called slaves because they don't get paid. There's no money, right? Excuse me, guys. There's no money in slavery. The money only goes to the slave owner. So why do we have paychecks? There are accounts on records, ancient records, that show the people that were doing a lot of the labor got paid. They were getting paid. There are a lot of medical records showing that they had a rudimentary form of insurance back then. And the people that were working on the pyramids, if they got injured, they were taken care of. They even state what kind of injury they got. I broke a forearm, snapped a femur, whatever. It's in those records, which you can go to the museum. People getting paid, people having insurance to do the work in case they get injured. So was it some grueling work going on? Absolutely. The people that built the pyramids were not these Anuna or the Anunnaki. According to the Egyptians, they called them the netters. The netters did not build the pyramid. The netters gave out the architectural blueprint and the instructions and the teaching on how to build these structures. When people say aliens built the pyramids, it's not that simple. It's just not that simple. My hypothesis is that people, and I do mean people that look just like us, came here and created a breakaway civilization. And why do I believe they came here? Well, the ancient text talks about people coming here. Even the biblical texts in the Quran talk about people coming here. The book of Enoch talks about people coming here. Teaching people. All of them say the same thing. They taught human beings. The Dogon tribe talk about people coming here. They call them the Nomo, coming from Sirius B. The Aboriginals in Australia talk about people bringing them here and seeding them on the planet. The Hopi and Lakota tribe in the Americas talk about people, they call them Star Brothers, bringing them here from Pleiades and seeding them on this planet. It's too many coincidences to call it a coincidence anymore. People came here, and in some way, they had advanced knowledge, advanced tooling, advanced engineering, advanced construction techniques, and they taught other people, our ancestors, to do the labor, to bear the load, as it says in the ancient text. It says to bear the load. That means do the work. That means get your ass out there in that sun and start grinding, because this thing got to be built on time. So we need to use this technology, this stone technology. Get out here and make it happen. And it was an honor for them to do the work because they were working for the gods. And they were getting paid, as we have evidence of. They didn't work for free. So if you're thinking that slaves built these pyramids, you've been beguiled by whoever told you that, because they had nothing to do with building any of these pyramids. You can't get a person to build a structure like this, 2,000 kilometers, 2,000 feet deep, columns that are 2,000 feet deep, 6,500 feet wide, boxes down there that God knows what technology they possess that can hold 64,000 people inside of them if we needed to get a size of the, to get an actual understanding of the size of this structure. Potentially moving energy to and fro underneath the plateau, and then to build structures on top that needed millions of blocks, each block a total different size than the other block, a total different shape than the other block, more than 2 million pieces of an individually interlocked puzzle. And you're going to tell me that a slave just got out there and helped build these things? Sorry, it didn't happen. Wipe it out of your brain. Wipe it out of your brain. Didn't happen. Slaves have always been ignorant, untaught, unread. They damn sure don't know calculus and trigonometry, which is what you would need to know to build that structure. They damn sure don't know advanced engineering techniques, which is what you would need to know to build that structure. So wipe it out of your brain. People who knew what the hell they were doing with advanced tooling and advanced engineering built that. People beyond today's level of understanding of engineering and technology built that. This version of human that we are here now with our level of intelligence, we are not the end all be all. We are the new kids on the block. And all we do is rediscover what already existed.